speak to someone about this because I want to get other people's perspective on it. Shane McMahon and Tony Khan had a meeting, a private meeting.
I posted about that. And I think that Shane McMahon basically, because WWE and TKO doesn't want to have any dealings with him, or they're not interested in bringing him into their content, right? Right now, he is doing the same thing that was done in the Angle in 2001 with WWF, WCW, and ECW. And that is the way I look at it. He's basically trying to say, I am Vince McMahon's son. I know how to beat WWE because I am in that business. However, and this is what I've always said, if there is a family, the mother is a housewife, the father owns a business, the father must run the business. The children must have nothing to do with the business because they are only there by name. Shane McMahon was a European champion, right? He was a hardcore champion, and that's about it. Shane's highlight was his match against, and actually two highlights. There's actually two highlights in Shane's wrestling career that I would say top-notch matches. One, Kurt Angle, King of the Ring. Two, Undertaker, Hell in the Cell.
I would also put Shane versus Kane in the ambulance match there, personally.
Yeah, there was some testicular business going on in that match.
Yeah, probably why I like it there. But Shane was a hardcore guy. He was a daredevil. I mean, even look at his match at WrestleMania X7 with He Who Shall Not Be Named, and then you got the highlights of his career. I mean, Sandman knocking him off the top of the SummerSlam, what do you call it? Whatever that thing is called, that structure, and falling 100 feet down. Or him jumping off the Titantron through the stage. There's so many highlights Shane has, but what I think is going to happen, this is my own personal opinion, because Vince, let's call it like it is. Vince has been kicked out of WWE. Let's be honest, because of all
for being a shithead.
Exactly, for being a shithead, Vince has been kicked out, and maybe this is Shane's way of getting back at both his father and the WWE for kicking him out of his own company. Or and there was a news article about just before WrestleMania some months ago about Vince starting up another wrestling promotion. So there's a lot that could happen, and maybe Shane is going to be part of AEW, and I'm telling you right now, forget Okada, forget Ospreay, even though Ospreay is one of my favorite wrestlers. Forget Ospreay, forget Omega, forget MJF, forget everyone that WWE's ever signed. If Shane McMahon signs on the dotted line with AEW, whether that be as a talent, a part-time talent, whether that be as someone who works backstage but has a big pull backstage, that is the biggest signing in AEW's entire history.
It is, because nobody would ever have expected a McMahon to go into business with Tony Khan. And this is a comparison that I draw between the two. Tony Khan is a wrestling fan. Shane McMahon was a part-time wrestler. Both of them are businessmen. However, what will Shane McMahon do differently from what Tony Khan is doing now? Because if Shane McMahon is an extremist in terms of wrestling, Tony Khan is putting out some very extreme matches, which I kind of enjoy. However, in doing that, you are cutting the lifespan down of your wrestlers, of your talent.
That's true.
So
that's true. Like, look at
so this is this is the point that I'm making. If I know Kenny Omega was the self-proclaimed best bout machine, or Uncle Dave basically gave him the ammunition for that. Had Kenny Omega been with a different company, doing the same matches but doing it in a different way, which was more safer, you wouldn't have a situation where Kenny Omega is now at an age where he can't function because his body cannot take it. It's like saying this: Kenny Omega is a 40-year-old man with a body of a 56-year-old.
You see, the thing is, when AEW started, and this is where a lot of my gripes with AEW comes in. When AEW started, let's analyze the name, All Elite Wrestling. We expected Cody to be there. He was wrestling. We expected Hangman Page to be there. He was wrestling. We expected the Young Bucks to be there. They were wrestling. We expected Omega to be there. He was wrestling. Now, he's been through so much of toil in Japan that when he came over to AEW, he has not been as active in the 5 years that AEW has been around as we had expected him to be. Yes, he's been champion on probably more than one occasion, but we expected to see more of Omega because the whole, let's look at it from the fans' perspective. AEW, the reason why it was so popular was two reasons. Number one, it was an alternative to WWE. At the time, WWE sucked balls. Let's not mince words. WWE sucked balls in 2019. There was a lot of dumb shit that was going on. And number two, people were excited that they were going to get names like Cody, Omega, Young Bucks, Hangman Page, all on a weekly basis rather than having to wait for a New Japan. Because New Japan, back then, now I know they have a show weekly called Strong, but I don't watch it. I don't think hardly anybody watches it. But back then, they didn't have weekly shows. You had to wait for Road 2 shows, and most of the time, those were tag matches that didn't have much consequence. Or you had to wait for the big shows like Dominion, Wrestle Kingdom, Power Struggle, those big show names to get matches of tier top quality with names like Omega, Rhodes, Hangman, and the Young Bucks. Now, people were excited that they didn't have to wait for those shows. We can get those kind of tier matches on a weekly basis. And we never ended up getting that. Sure, we wanted development, but,
You see, this is where the turn came, and this is where AEW dropped the ball completely, right? When AEW let go of Cody Rhodes and Cody Rhodes signed with WWE, that catapulted WWE forward to new heights, basically. And mind you, at that point in time, it was the ending of Vince McMahon's era and the beginning of Triple H. Now, people couldn't understand where Triple H would fit in with Cody Rhodes, because on the first ever show of AEW, Cody Rhodes destroyed the throne that Triple H had.
Yeah. That
was like a big FU, because why? It was something of significance. Now fast track to where we are now. Tama Tonga has said this. He said he chose to sign with WWE because he regards AEW as a mid-level show. I cannot disagree with him.